Welcome back. So, given the end of the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League game, I thought now would be a great time to give some of my opinions on what could be the next game in the Arkham franchise, or at least a loose outline of what I'd like to see. Appreciate my opinion weighs little to nothing on the development of the new game, but you guys seem to like these unscripted videos where I basically ramble. So I've got a few notes here of what could be kind of cool to see in the future. Like, subscribe, comment what you want to see, because that'd be interesting just to see what you guys think would be cool to have as the next games, because I know the general consensus is that people want console games, but a lot of people want the VR stuff to carry on, so that'd be interesting to see. Anyway, the first thing on the list is more VR games. I think more VR prequels to Arkham Asylum could be quite cool, sort of building out that period of Batman's career. Especially if you consider sort of that you can't obviously have Kevin Conroy as Batman anymore. So anything after Arkham Asylum, I don't want to say is off limits, because I don't think it is, but I think it's hard to handle. Because you have to recast Kevin Conroy and the Joker. So it would be difficult to try and get something out of that. Especially when people do like Roger Craig Smith. But at the end of the day, he's not Kevin Conroy, and with all due respect to him and his work, which I do love, you can't beat Kevin Conroy. You can't beat Kevin Conroy. So there's no point trying to put him in those shoes, because I think his portrayal of the Batman as a character is a lot different. I think trying to put his version of the character that Kevin Conroy played after Arkham Knight, I just don't think would work. I think you could do plenty of prequels, but then how many prequels do you do before there's too many? To the point where people are like, okay, this is kind of becoming a bit stupid. Like, all of these world-changing events happened in Batman's universe before Arkham Asylum, and he never mentions any of them. Like, yeah, you can get away with... But then again, I suppose you could go with the fact that they were so long ago, but then you're going to run out of time. Like, I don't know, I can't think off the top of my head how many years are between Shadow and Asylum, but you can explain that away with, it was a long time ago. Obviously, Batman's not going to remember every time the city's at stake, because, Jesus Christ, it happens every other week in Gotham. But it's like, how long do you go before it's, like, unbelievable that Batman doesn't mention these in the future games? And obviously, you can, again, pass it off with, oh, well, people will just understand that these games were made after the initial 3-4 Arkham games. But I just don't think it'd work. I think it'd just be a cheap, sort of like, oh, yeah, look, Batman saved Gotham 56 times between Arkham Origins and Arkham Asylum from quite literally life-altering and career-changing events. I just don't think you could do it. And I mean, maybe you could if they weren't big city-wide events. Like, that could be quite cool. Maybe bringing the focus closer onto Batman as a character and having him go through smaller things. Like, I don't know, maybe gang-related stuff, or the smaller villains. That could be quite cool. Maybe have multiple games. Maybe build a trilogy of Origins called Batman Arkham Origins the Trilogy, or something like that, where each game where Batman faces a new villain, and the villain is a villain we've seen in later games. I can't think of one off the top of my head that would work, because we've already seen a lot of the villains sort of lap over. But maybe someone like, I don't know, Victor Zsasz, or Professor Pig, or I appreciate we only ever find out about Professor Pig in Arkham Knight, but you get the point. Someone like that who isn't going to threaten the city and isn't going to have a profound effect on Gotham, but maybe has a profound effect on Batman, and maybe that's the way they go with it. So they kind of zone in on Batman as a character, and across the course of these games, we take him from where he ends off in Shadow all the way up to sort of the ultimate form we see him as in Asylum. Because at the end of the day, in Asylum, he's Batman, right? He is the Batman. He's just Batman. He's pre-made, he's already there, he's been through all the shit, and he's Batman. Whereas in Origins and Shadow, he's a lot more untested, he's a lot more raw. So I think having games that kind of mould his character quite slowly. I wouldn't want it to be a fast thing. I'd want it to be over the course of a few games, and not that's just so I can play more Arkham games and we can get more Arkham games. But I'd want it to be over the course of a few games, to really see the slow change. And I think Roger Craig Smith has the ability as well to portray that, because I think, again, in Origins and Shadow, he does such a good job at portraying this Batman who doesn't really know anything. Like, obviously he's smart, but he doesn't really know anything about being Batman and what Batman needs to be for Gotham yet. And I think that could be quite interesting, because I think in Asylum, obviously we get this veteran Batman who knows what Batman means to the people of Gotham and to the criminals. Whereas in Origins, obviously, we get the whole I'm the reason criminals sleep easier at night, all that sort of thing. Or sleep easier when the sun comes up. But I think it'd be a lot more interesting to see how he forms his own worldview of Batman and see how he becomes that version. Because I just think we don't really see that. We see him grow as a character, but we don't see him become the Dark Knight, if that makes sense. Like, if Arkham Shadow and Origins are like the prototype Batman, they're not fully fledged or completed, we need to see how he becomes the Arkham Asylum Batman, and we need to see how he not becomes Kevin Conroy, but becomes Kevin Conroy. We need to see how he becomes that calm under stress and that just hardened. Because at the end of the day in Arkham Asylum, he goes through some serious trauma, and he's Batman. He doesn't care. Whereas I think in Origins, that stuff would have affected him, so it'd be interesting to see how he became that. Another thing you could do with the VR games as well is you could do VR games based on other characters. I don't know, maybe a Nightwing VR game, or maybe not a Nightwing game, but a Dick Grayson game. That could be really cool. I mean, it would probably, God, the motion blur would be insane when you were doing flips. But that could be a really cool idea, like having the VR games work as kind of like a world, like a side thing. Not that I want the VR games to be a side thing, but I do for jealousy reasons, because I still haven't played Shadow because I'm not buying the console yet. But I would like to see the VR games be integrated into the world a bit more, and if that was through making these side games. I don't know what you do with it. I'm not a game developer. I don't know anything. This is purely all hypothetical, but that could be quite fun. Fleshing the world out with the VR games, and I guess that's what they did in Shadow, but fleshing it outside of Batman. Because the Arkham games, at the end of the day, are world-renowned for its world-building. Even if we look back at Arkham Asylum, the world it created with the character bios and the patient interview tapes and the Easter eggs, it was mad. It was like you just got dropped straight into an episode of the animated series, and I think that could be so cool. And the VR games could also be used to separate the two Batman. Again, like I'm saying, separate Kevin Conroy from Roger Craig Smith. That could be quite an interesting way of doing that, rather than just saying, yeah, okay, right, now he's played by Kevin Conroy. And I guess the voice doesn't matter, but I think it's more of the performance. Because there's obviously a distinct difference between the two Batman. Like, Kevin Conroy, again, is playing a much more veteran Batman. Roger Craig Smith is playing this rawer version. So I think that could be quite an interesting way of separating the two characters apart. Because at the end of the day, they are almost two separate characters. Like, they don't really have anything to do with each other, apart from the fact they are the same person, if that makes sense. The two portrayals don't really have much in common at all, and that's a good thing. I'm all for that. But my second idea is sequels for Night. Now, we do know, obviously, about the unreleased game, or the cancelled game, that was supposed to come out after Night, which would have taken place in sort of this futuristic Batman Beyond-ish world, and he plays Damian Wayne, and I believe Two-Face was a villain, I think Penguin was there, I think. I'll put up some images on screen now, because they're really cool, but just make that could be really cool. I don't know what the market for, like, games like that are, but I'm thinking like a cyberpunk type city. Basically just a giant futuristic Gotham City. That could be really cool. Playing as Damian Wayne, you get the bike, you get give him the plane. Just give him everything. I think having Damian Wayne as well could be quite interesting, because you could almost use that Arkham Origins dynamic of an untested, rawer version of the character work, but just in a different character. Instead of it being Batman, it's Damian Wayne. And then maybe, I don't know, maybe we get a Damian Wayne trilogy. That could be really fun. Like, he goes from being Damian Wayne and being all, I'm going to kill people because my granddad said so, to being the next Batman. And there's plenty of cool skin opportunities there. Just throwing that out there. There's a few There's a few different skins we could have, which would be cool. But as long as we don't get the Arkham Knight Beyond skin, I'm happy. But yeah, a Batman Beyond sort of game. Don't call it Batman Beyond, call it like Batman. Maybe call it Batman Arkham Beyond. That could be quite cool. Or like Batman Arkham futuristic Batman game. I don't know. But something like that could be really cool. And then say you could build out sort of Damian Wayne as a character. But then after that, I feel like that needs to be the end. If Damian, like, you can't then have Damian Wayne's son be Batman. And then blah, 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 blah. But you could also do a Nightwing sequel or a Tim Drake sequel. This is probably my favourite idea that I've had or that I've seen. I can't remember. But that, like a Tim Drake game, just to flesh out that character. Like, even if it's literally an 8-hour story in a confined place, like Arkham Asylum style, that would just be so cool, just to flesh Tim Drake out. Because I think Tim Drake, I've said it a few times, is such an underused character in these games. And I feel like his introduction back into the series could be through its own trilogy or its own game, just in general, just his own piece of media where he is the focus, his arc is the focus. Or maybe they go back before Asylum and make a Tim Drake Origins game. Like, where he finds Tim Drake and then he brings him in, and then you get his whole arc from sad child whose parents died to Robin. And there's so many characters there that you could do that for. And I don't want one for every character. I'm not saying I want one for Nightwing, one for Batgirl, one for Red Hood, one for... I don't, because that would just be stupid and fill the world out with completely useless games. But games that build out these characters that in the mainline games didn't get much focus, and Tim Drake is literally the definition of that. He was so cool and so competent at being Robin, but the game never really used him properly. Harley Quinn's Revenge is probably his best outing, but like Two-Face's story pack, I don't even know what he did in that. Like, he basically just got told he was like a crap Batman, and then he went, yeah, I guess I am a crap Batman, but I'm really angry about that. I'm not going to... And I get why he was angry. It makes sense. Like, because, again, he is a really good portrayal of the character. Or had the potential to be. And they just never did anything with him. So a Tim Drake game, like, after the death of Batman, sort of make it like a Gotham Knights type game. But don't, because Batman isn't dead, and I've just remembered that. Because Suicide Squad's Kill the Justice League exists, which is my next point, but we'll get onto that. I don't know, like... It could go from the point where he supposedly dies in Suicide Squad. Just retcon it so he doesn't. He survived, he got out, because, again, this Robin is good. Like, some of the things he does in the Arkham trilogy are insane. Like, he's trained by Batman, and I think there's a line in Arkham Knight where Batman's like, be careful or something, and he's like, oh, don't worry, I was trained by you or something. Like, I don't believe for a second a bloodlusted Batman would have been able to kill Robin that quickly. Especially this Robin. Like, other Robin, maybe. But this is Tim Drake, Arkham Robin. This guy's not a joke. He's not a pushover. You might get portrayed as it throughout the series because at the end of the day, Batman's the main focus, I guess. But this could be a really cool chance to show, like, okay, so after the events of Suicide Squad, which obviously end with Batman coming back, you could have Tim Drake come back from whatever hole he went to hide in after the events of, or during the events of Suicide Squad. He comes back, and then that story is him trying to reconcile with Bruce after the events. Because although he'll know he was mind controlled, it wasn't him. I think there's still some... There would be some emotional damage there. Like, there would be some scars which could be healed over with time. And I think that story could be really cool. Maybe because obviously now the Justice League are going between worlds, kind of making up for what they've done. Robin could be Gotham's main protector. And that's like the perfect setup. Like, now Batman's actually back as Batman. You could have Tim Drake be the protector of Gotham and make that a game. Give him, I don't know, make did Two-Face survive Suicide Squad? I don't know who survived Suicide Squad. Two-Face, right? Put Two-Face in charge of a giant gang, right? While Batman was out, he took over Gotham. Two-Face is the big kingpin. Then you've got the pre-existing arguments and rivalry they had before the game. You've got this new sort of hardened Robin in the driver's seat. Is Batgirl still alive? Is Oracle still alive? I don't know. Bring Oracle back. Just get Suicide Squad out of the timeline. That's basically what I'm saying. Basically, get Suicide Squad out of the timeline. Just make a Robin game. Put him in Gotham. Give him the bike. Don't give him the plane, but give him the bike. And certainly don't give him the car, because chicks do not dig the car. Thanks, Chris O'Donnell, you awful, awful man. But yeah, that could be really cool. Like a Robin game that kind of is Robin. Maybe we get lines from Batman and we get voice lines. Kind of like a Miles Morales type thing. Like if you've played Spider-Man Miles Morales, Peter Parker is in that game, but it's a Miles Morales game. And that's what we need with Robin to kind of save his character. We need a Robin game. We don't need a Batman game with Robin as a side character. We don't need a Nightwing game with Tim Drake as a supporting character. We need a Tim Drake Robin game. And then you can also flesh out Red Hood in that game. And then that could lead into a Red Hood game or a spin-off or something like that. Like, as long as you focus it on Batman's proteges and not Batman, there's so many routes you could go down. There's so many cool ideas that they could bring into that world. I think that could be really cool. But the final idea, which I can't believe I'm about to utter these words, but you actually keep Suicide Squad as... God, this is... You actually keep Suicide Squad as a serious inclusion in the Arkham universe, and you make a Justice League game. I'm just throwing that out there. A Justice League game? I'm not really sure about this one. I think this is the weakest of the ideas, because you'd have to make new characters, and I don't know how... It's like the never-ending gaming conundrum, right? How do you make a good Superman game? How do you make a good Flash game? Because at the end of the day, these characters are so overpowered and so strong that turning them into their own games is difficult. I can see why no one's really ever done it properly, because it's hard. Like, how do you make the fastest man alive a fun person to play as? I mean, no, he would be fun to play as, but it'd be so stupidly easy because you just run through. You could integrate like bullet time mechanics. That'd be cool. Like, imagine he could only do it for a certain amount of time, and the Flash went into the Speed Force, and it was like bullet time, and like that would be really cool. But then Superman, like, unless you give everyone kryptonite weapons, snooze, who cares, right? So I'm not really sure what you could do with that. Maybe just have it as a Batman game, but obviously, like, now Batman and Superman, the Justice League, are going around sort of atoning for their sins or whatever in the Suicide Squad game. You could have that as a thing, like have Batman and Superman work together, make the world's finest game. That could be really cool. I'm not sure how this would work, but I say it's the weakest of the ideas because I don't really know where you'd start with it, and I don't really know where you'd end with it. I don't know what because Brainiac's already gone, right? So unless you introduce Doomsday, or maybe set up Doomsday or something. Not Doomsday, Darkseid. Jesus. Set up Darkseid as like the next big villain and make the next Arkham game like a world-hopping adventure. But then is that too stupid? Like, the Arkham games have always been a bit fantastical. But is that... I don't know, I would feel weird seeing Batman hop from world to world. Like, I'm very much of the mindset that once a character has their place, I don't like taking them out of it. Like John Wick, for example, right? John Wick 1 and 2 are some of my favourite films ever. John Wick 3, for some reason, even though the action's great in it, and it's not a bad film by any means, but I don't like the fact they took him out of New York. I just don't think it worked. John Wick was in New York, right? I don't think it worked. I don't like the fact he went to the desert, and then he went to see Halle Berry, and I just didn't really like that. But like, so I think for me personally, I don't think you should take Batman out of Gotham, and if you do, it should only go as far as Metropolis, because I think that still works. But if you start taking Batman to other worlds, especially in the Arkhamverse, I don't think that would work. Like, I think Arkham Batman, to me, he's a Gotham Batman, if that makes sense. You know, like, whereas, like, the Justice League, the DCU Batman, right? That can be an interhopping Batman who does all sorts of crap. But Arkham Batman, for me, is a Gotham Batman. Like, Ben Affleck's Batman wasn't a Gotham Batman. You could put him wherever you want, and it would kind of work. But this Batman, I feel like, needs to stay in Gotham, or say, at very most, Metropolis, because I still feel like that would make sense. But there's a lot of routes they could go down, and I'm quite excited to see what the next game in development is. And a part of me wishes I had, like, extra dimensional powers to kind of extract information from people's minds, because I really, really want to know what they're going to do next. And so that was just a few ideas, some better than others. I think the Suicide Squad idea isn't a great one, and I think prequels or really far in the future sequels are probably a better idea. But yeah, I'd be interested to see what you guys think, because I think this is quite an interesting topic. I think everyone wants something different from the Arkham franchise, whether it just be refined combat and more like an Arkham Knight game, or whether it be a much more focused, character-driven story like Arkham Origins and Arkham Shadow, or if it's a much more confined, atmospheric thing, kind of going back to the roots of Asylum. I think everyone wants something different. I think that's what makes this series so kind of memorable and fascinating in the minds of people, is that you can kind of take it anywhere within a certain degree. You can kind of take it anywhere. So yeah, comment down below what you think should be the next Arkham game, or at least the future of the franchise. Maybe not the next game, but maybe do what I did with the trilogy. Do like what your next 3 Arkham games will be, something like that. Because I'd be really interested to read them, because you guys have great ideas on this stuff, and I don't. Say that was literally just a list of notes that I wrote down like 3 weeks ago for a video. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Links to the last video in the description, because that's quite a good video. It's about the Matter of Family DLC, and I think you'll enjoy it. And there's also a little channel update at the end, which I think you need to hear if you watch this channel, because I'm a bit, yeah, things are a bit weird around here at the moment. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later. Goodbye.